this year I'm off to sunny Spain. Viva España! Hi everyone, and welcome to video number 15. And we're looking at the relationship between Elizabeth's Protestant England and Philip's Catholic Spain. And that's what we'll be looking at in this video. Now, we're off to sunny Spain on our holidays. Well, no, we're not. Not if we are living in the year 1585, because that was the year that, in effect, England went to war with Spain. Now we're going to be asking, why would that be? At the start of Elizabeth's reign, 1558, England and Spain were actually, well, not massively friendly, but they were on the same side against France. So what was it? How come we've moved from 1558, where England and Spain at least were quite friendly, to 1585 when they go to war? What were the factors? What led to the change? Now, the first thing you need to think about is this. Don't always assume that war was inevitable. In this video, I'm going to talk about quite a few different factors which increased the tension and the dislike between the two countries. But notice, war was never inevitable until it actually occurred, and we'll look at why that was. So, let's put the glasses down. We're not going on holiday to Spain, unfortunately, but we are going to look at the relationship between England and Spain. Now, there were many, many factors. I've already mentioned one. Religion. Catholic Spain and Protestant England. We've done a lot about that in some of the other videos. Remember the Catholic plots. Now, first of all, you might remember that Philip II of Spain had been married to Elizabeth's sister, Mary, Bloody Mary. When Mary died, Elizabeth took over. Philip was willing, and Philip indeed wanted, to marry Elizabeth. Now, in those days, kings and queens didn't necessarily get married for love. They got married to help their country get stronger. So Philip wanted to marry Elizabeth. But as we know, Elizabeth remained unmarried, so she turned him down. Philip didn't like that. It's the start of the bad feeling between the two, but that on its own did not lead to war. 1559, if you remember, Elizabeth's religious settlement. Remember some of the key words? Compromise, concessions to the Catholics. And although Elizabeth was trying to follow and find a middle way, Philip was still unhappy. She had made Protestant the main religion of England, Protestantism, and Philip wanted it to be the Catholic religion, so he was unhappy. He disliked the religious settlement. If you remember, Spain was often involved in many of the Catholic plots. Ridolfi, Throckmorton, Babington. There were the rumours that Spain was either going to send an army or Spain was going to finance it. So yes, the religious idea, the religious settlement, is a factor in the breakdown in relations between Philip and Elizabeth. But it doesn't cause war on its own. If you also remember from the plots, Philip's support was pretty much lukewarm. He never sent an army. The money never really materialised that much. So always have that in your head. Yes, religion is playing a part in making relations between the two countries worse, but on its own, it doesn't lead to war. Remember, Elizabeth expelled the Spanish ambassador. She introduced harsher laws against the Catholics. She even went so far as to support French Protestants. Now, all of those upset and angered Philip, but he didn't go to war over them. So that's religion. Linked very closely with religion, of course, is politics. Now, another word that begins with P, power. Politics and power. At the time, Philip was the richest man in the world. Spain had the biggest empire. Well, England and Elizabeth wanted some of that action. They wanted to get an empire. They wanted to get stronger, particularly financially. If you remember, Elizabeth, when she took over, had quite a debt. Her finances, the money situation wasn't very good. So Elizabeth wanted to challenge the power of Philip. Now, why was Philip so powerful? Well, Spain was a rich country, of course it was. But he had the Netherlands, and I'll deal with that in the next video. He became the King of Portugal. And then, of course, we get what we call the New World. Across the Atlantic Ocean to America, North America, Central America, South America. The Spanish were over there, and that helped them become very, very rich. Elizabeth wants to challenge this. Now, talking of power, that also leads us to money, which leads us into trade and commercial rivalry, business rivalry between Spain and England. And as I'm going to show you, hopefully, this also caused a breakdown in relations between the two countries. Now, England had made a lot of its money. Its main export to Europe was wool, because we had so many sheep over here. Sheep farming was very, very big in England. Now, our woolen cloth had to go across the Channel, had to go across the North Sea to Antwerp. At that time, Antwerp was in the Netherlands. The Netherlands was controlled by Spain, Philip of Spain. Now, we were producing a bit too much wool. So if there's overproduction of something, the price will fall. So that's not good for Elizabeth. Remember, she needs the money. Philip controls Antwerp. Well, he could limit the English ships arriving in Antwerp. So he could limit our ability to sell our woolen cloth. He could make us poorer. That could lead to hardship over here in England. Elizabeth won't be very pleased about that. So they're looking for other markets. Russia, China, India, other parts in Europe. But they then look a different way. Away from Europe, they look across the Atlantic Ocean to what was called the New World. 1492, Columbus got the credit for discovering America. Now, he didn't really discover it, but that's what people thought. 1490s, 1500s, people were looking across that way. They were looking west to the Americas, the New World, and Spain was there, big style. They were getting rich. Well, Elizabeth's thinking, well, maybe we need some of that action. Maybe we need to move into that market. There's huge profits there. Tobacco, sugar, silver, gold. There's a massive amount of money to be made. Well, why didn't the English just sail over and get involved? Here's the problem. To trade in the New World, because Spain was already there and Spain was controlling it, to trade in the New World, you needed a license. And who awarded the license? The Spanish. The Catholic Spanish. Well, are they going to award many licenses to the Protestant English? What do you think? The answer, of course, was very, very few English traders were given the license. So that's a problem for Elizabeth. She wants to get involved, but she can't legally. I wonder what the answer might be. Time for another silly hat. Ooh-ar! Ooh-ar, Jim lad. Ooh-ar! Here's the answer. A silly sword and a silly hat and a silly accent. No. That's not the real answer. Here is the answer. Elizabeth encouraged what she called privateers, independent traders. Now, if they're independent, they're not representing England. They're not representing Elizabeth. So if they get into conflict, if they get into trouble with the Spanish, Elizabeth could rightly say, well, they're independent, they're nothing to do with me. So these privateers, independent traders, were encouraged to go to the New World. Now, we called them privateers. The Spanish called them a different word, using almost exactly the same letters. They said, no, they're not privateers, they're pirates. They are illegal traders. They are pirates. They are breaking the law. Now, who were they? What did they do? Well, the first one, a man called John Hawkins, 1562, 1564. He sails from England down to West Africa. He's the first person really from England to get involved in the slave trade. Now, at the time, the Spanish, the Portuguese were already involved in the slave trade. It was very, very profitable for Spain. Hawkins is challenging them. He's saying, well, we'll get involved and then we can get the money back to England. So Hawkins starts this idea of getting involved in Spanish trade over in the New World. He's the first, if you like, privateer. Between 1560s and 1603, when Elizabeth died, there were 235 privateers, English privateers over in the Caribbean, over in the New World. And it was very profitable, bringing money, bringing revenue back to Elizabeth. So Hawkins is the first. He then does his third slave voyage, 1568. Now, when he gets across to the New World, he's attacked. San Juan de Ulloa. Okay, the Spanish aren't going to stand it. So there's an increase in tension between the English and the Spanish. In revenge, the English attack and steal a Spanish gold ship. Well, this is going to annoy Philip. So Hawkins starts the ball rolling for the privateers. Then we move to possibly one of the most famous of them all, Sir Francis Drake. 1572, he attacked a Spanish ship, the Nombre de Dios. Now, he took between 20 and 40,000 pounds. There's different estimates as to how much he took. Now, 20 to 40,000 pounds, it's a lot of money. But in today's money, that would be worth between 30 and 60 million pounds. Wow. So it's a real huge amount of money. 1572. Later, when he circumnavigates the world, he's the second man to sail round the world. He attacks another ship, the Cacafuego. Takes 140,000 pounds, another massive amount. And with other attacks on other ships, when he returns to England, he's got 400,000 pounds. Now, he gives a huge amount of that to Elizabeth. In return, Elizabeth actually makes him a knight. She knights him on the deck of his ship, the Golden Hind. Now, previously, Elizabeth had sort of encouraged the privateers, given them secret encouragement. Yes, go and get some of that Spanish silver, go and get some of that money, we want that. But she always did it in a very unofficial way, so she could say to Philip and Spain, oh, it's nothing to do with us. They're independent, they're privateers. I'll tell them off, I'll make sure they don't do it again. She was quite clever like that. But then as relations between the two get worse, she actually publicly knights Sir Francis Drake on his return. This outraged Philip, because she's sort of, if you like, taking the mickey out of him. She's taking his money and she's showing that she's not really bothered anymore. Relations between the two had worsened. Now, also, Francis Drake, when he landed down the coast of California, he claimed part of that for Elizabeth and England. It's leading to more and more tension between Spain and England. But it doesn't lead directly to war. There was still no fighting. This is 1579, 1580, 1581. Well, there was still the Throckmorton plot. There was still the Babington plot. So, and yet in those plots, remember, Spain did not really give the help. So though Philip was annoyed, he's still not ready to fight. So it's not an immediate cause of the war. So let's just stand back and have a look. The pirates, the privateers, upset Spain, Catholic Spain. Philip, King Philip, the richest man in the world, is losing money and he's not pleased about it. He's also not pleased that England is a Protestant country and the Catholics are being suppressed to some degree. He's not pleased that they are challenging his power, political power. He's not pleased about religion. He's not pleased about the trade, the commerce, the business. All of those factors are eating away at the relationship between Spain and England. They're all there, making tension worse, increasing the tension. But they don't actually cause the war. They're there, long-term causes in the background. For the actual cause of the war, ladies and gentlemen, we have to come back to Europe and look to a country I mentioned earlier, the Netherlands. What was going on in the Netherlands? Well, we'll have to wait for the next video, because the next video will be all about Spanish and English involvement, confrontation, and eventually conflict and war, 1585, over the Netherlands. Hope it's been useful. Rawr! Terrible impression. Now, of course, we're very friendly with Spain, so we can go on holiday. Oh, this year I'm off to sunny Spain. Hooray! See you later. All the best. Way.